Hello, and thank you for clicking on the video. I have received a few questions on the marijuana card, and if the marijuana card is going to disqualify, if marijuana use is going to disqualify the applicant for law enforcement. So this video is about that. One of my subscribers recently mentioned how how is it that law enforcement can find that information, even though it's medical in nature? And so a lot of you don't know, but I was a background investigator for a few years for a law enforcement agency. And when law enforcement makes you a conditional job offer, they are then allowed to have you fill out a medical questionnaire, and that's going to involve every single instance of medical history that you've had in your life, whether you've had prior surgeries, whether you're currently using any kind of narcotics. Marijuana is a narcotic. What if it's methamphetamine, cocaine, any of that stuff? So that's going to come out on a medical questionnaire. So they are allowed, and once they find out you have a medical card, you're pretty much disqualified from employment for a law enforcement agency. Now, occasional use that is not regular in nature is going to not disqualify you. So then you're okay there. Now, during that medical exam, what's going to happen is they're going to be asking you a series of questions. For example, they're going to put you on the treadmill and take your blood pressure all the way up to 145 or whatever, and then slow down the treadmill, bring you back down to 80 to make sure that you don't have any heart problems in case you have to chase somebody down in law enforcement. Also, they're going to be checking your hearing. I know that I'm always telling students not to listen to loud music, and a lot of my students still do, and then they go to nightclubs, and when you go to a nightclub and you're driving home and you're hearing this buzzing sound, like obviously your ears are not used to that high level of sound. Well, that high level of sound damages your hearing. So when you go take a test for law enforcement and they put you on a medical questionnaire, then they go to test different frequencies of your hearing. If you have damaged hearing, you're not going to be able to get a job in law enforcement. They also check for color blindness. They show you like a set of blotches and see if you can detect the different patterns. Most law enforcement agencies will disqualify you if you are colorblind. Obviously that would be a deterrent in the law enforcement profession. And so anyway, I hope this helped in terms of clearing that up. We still have a few minutes, so I wanted to talk to you about a few other things. Most recently, here in 2018, mid-2018, we're hearing a lot of negative publicity about law enforcement agents, law enforcement officers in different law enforcement departments that are doing dumb things, and they're creating a bad reputation for the whole nation. And I gotta tell you, for the most part, the majority of police officers are ethical, they are professional, they're well trained, and they go out there and do the job every day. Whenever people need the police, the sheriff, they respond. However, for some unknown reasons, a handful of bad people got into law enforcement. I call them criminals. And so what's happening lately is new technologies such as body cameras and traps set by the department are catching these law enforcement officers doing unethical activity, whether they're beating people up, they're planting evidence, they're stealing money, and doing other unethical behavior. And so I actually look at that as a positive thing. I look at that as they're really cleaning the ranks of corrupt officers that should never been allowed to be wearing the badge. Now, as far as you, the applicant, you want to get into a law enforcement profession, you've always thought it'd be kind of cool to wear the uniform, go out there, fight crime, help the community, be a public servant. And my advice to you is don't get influenced by the media bias against law enforcement. Media has always had that bias against law enforcement as far back as this nation was created. I mean, there's always going to be certain reporters or whatever that are going to want to get the people all riled up so they can buy more newspapers, so they can buy more advertisement on their channels, etc. So be aware of this. Be aware of the media bias against law enforcement. And if your desire is to get into a law enforcement profession, let no one or nothing stop you from going after what you desire. If that's what you want to do, go after it. I know that some of you worry about the risk, but you know what? There's a risk in driving on the freeway. So be thinking about that. Every day you get in your car, you drive to work, some crazy fool could be texting and go through a red light and kill you, or create other damage. So anyway, this video is just now past 5 minutes. My last bit of advice that I want to tell you again, and I want to really endorse this, is be selfish about what it is that you want to do in this life. I mean, be completely selfish. I know that as you were growing up as a little kid, people were telling you not to be selfish, to share your toys with other kids, etc. in the playground, but now you're an adult and time becomes more valuable as you get older. So be super selfish about going after that career that you have intended to go after. And since we started the video with marijuana, I will tell you this: bad behavior produces negative results. So I understand that there is a medical usage for marijuana. I understand some people are in pain and marijuana is the only thing, and that's fine for them. But for you, if you're trying to get into law enforcement and you're using marijuana on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, then you really need to be assessing your behavior to find out if this is really what you want to do, if law enforcement is the preferred profession for you. You're not going to be driving a police car around while under the influence of THC. That's just not acceptable in any state of this country, right? So, while you're young, you experiment stuff, you tried stuff, now you're an adult, time is becoming more valuable. You really need to minimize your worst possible outcome. I mean, if you're content with whatever it is you're doing, you're working retail, you're working these monotonous street jobs, hard, labor jobs, and if you're happy, then you know what? You could ignore everything in this video. But if you desire for more, you want that law enforcement profession, and you need to examine your daily activities to see if they are getting you closer or pushing you far away from the intended goal, which is getting into law enforcement, right? Okay, so I'll go ahead and end this video. Continue to send me some comments and email. I definitely will continue to produce these videos as I want you to be informed. And thanks you for listening. We'll talk to you soon.